Fred implying that they might be hungover?
I saw one of the gentlemen who shall remain nameless, but was imbibing quite freely with the beer.
Who was imbibing?
Mr. 1-800-CONTACT. But he can do that. He's the CEO of the company.
After spending the night with Fred and Gary, Baba Boohai, if you could only be with one of them, who would you be with? Who is your favorite? And I'll go to Craig first.
I go with Fred.
Fred.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because he didn't say much.
Maybe Fred couldn't talk. Gary talks a lot. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Gary talks a lot.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't. He's like a woman, right?
Yeah, I was lucky because I was on the end, so he took the brunt of the talking.
And is it mostly like nonsense talk, like
it was, just chatter?
And he knows about everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this reminds me of the time. Did you know the Knicks did this? Yeah, my boy Lucas plays basketball too. It's always a constant dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather have Gary not been there and just gone with Fred?
No, I had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was a good game, too.
Yeah, it was a really good game. It's hard to watch the game and sit with those guys at the same time because it's really loud. It's a sporting event.
Right.
And you want to see the game.
Right.
At the same time, you want to talk to those guys, but you can't really have a conversation.
Well, Gary should understand that. I mean, he's talking through the whole game, right?
Kind of.
What is he talking about?
Guy talk.
Guy talk.
Basketball.
I know you guys probably saw my pitch at Shea Stadium, but, I gotta tell you, I do know a lot about sports. Did you read my book?
Absolutely.
You did? Do you know my father's name was Sally Fu? That was his nickname?
Sally Fu could have been a gangster, but he took the straight and narrow path.
John, did you agree that Gary would be the guy you wouldn't want to be, like, if you'd rather be with Fred?
No, they were both great.
They were both equally great?
Yes.
All right, well,
He's a diplomat.
When you got to the part of my book with the lists, did you enjoy it?
Oh, absolutely.
You did? Howard made fun of me. But I know it set a tone for the book.
I understand that you're from Utah. Now, which disc would you take back to Utah with you?
Wait, if it only was anything like that.
They said you didn't shut up.
No, he said I didn't shut up, and I hardly talked to him the whole game. He was 2 seats away. Nobody could hear anything.
He says you didn't shut up.
No, John was
what, he's lying?
Yeah. He didn't say a fucking word. Like talking to a fucking Mount Rushmore.
Because the guy wants to watch the game. He's a man.
I was talking to John, right?
Yes.
He was talking to John sitting next to me, and he had a lot of questions about the show, which I graciously answered.
Right.
We hardly got to talk, except when John got up to go to the bathroom.
He said you didn't shut up. I'm going with him.
You should go with him. You'll be bored to tears.
Oh, thanks.
Craig and John. All right. Well, enjoy the show. And when was the charity? Something to do with the Knicks, right?
Charity buzz.
Charity buzz. Okay. Well, thanks for doing that, and enjoy the show. And if you get bored, just leave. You don't have to stand on ceremony. Johnny, what do you have for us on the wrap-up show?
John Hein is Bowie's gay lover.
Howard, Chris Rock noticed you really enjoying being Howard Stern for the first time ever at the Apollo Theater.
That was funny.
And that made the embarrassment
Scream.
of Paul McCartney turning down your autograph request all the more interesting to see.
Right.
It was a different perspective. Like, we only heard it from your side, but he was watching the whole thing.
I know. Yeah. He certainly did get to see it. What else?
We'll discuss what happens when Chris Rock stops by and how he and Howard hold each other in such high regard.
Right.
How Chris grew that beard for the play, which George Takei is too booked up to go and see.
Right.
How Chris scribbles notes and is willing to bomb for 90 days in small clubs to build a great stand-up set.
That's right.
And after hearing that the praise Chris lavished upon Howard scored no points with Chris's wife, is there anything Howard could ever do to make her finally come around?
Nothing.
Plus, George is back and searching for the musculature on a pudgier Brad. Howard doesn't want anyone here bothering George to do stuff, and Steve Langford will not come in and talk about it.
Right.
Howard laments for Lindsay Lohan as he sits behind her at a source code screening. Robin sits in for Joy Behar and uses the Italian pronunciation of macchio and makes some memorable sounds. Gary checks to make sure Howard knows the difference between $500 and $5,000.
Right.
And everything else that happened, we'll talk about in the wrap-up show.
All right, Johnny, I'll be calling you tonight on that phone. So we can look at each other.
After the John Hein viewing, there was no more phone calls?
That's it. He was the only one available. I don't know how to reach it. It's, in other words, it's still too new. Not enough people have the ability, and if they're on the go, you can't talk to them. They have to be in their home.
Oh,
Yeah.
it has to be Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, yeah. All right. Robin, it's time for Steve Langford. Oh, no, it's not time for Steve. Oh, that's right. It's not time for
that
Steve.
way anymore.
We'll get him tomorrow. Robin, it's time for news. I'm spacing out.
I've seen her knocker, she's got tits galore. Without a bra, they'd hang down to the floor. Jugs, jugs, Robin's jugs. Her massive titties make my cock expand. I stroke my wiener while I squeeze her glands. Jugs, jugs, Robin's jugs.
You just enjoyed that so much.
He loves it. You love that, huh, George?
I am in admiration of Robin's thick skin.
Hey, did you,
While all that's being sung, she's just serenely looking at her notes.
she puts it all behind her. She's a pro.
Her behind, too, are very round.
Did you hear did you hear what happened with the Mets? Do you know about this?
No.
The Family Guy, the cartoon The Family Guy had made fun of the Mets.
Uh-huh.
Basically, they did a bit on the cartoon that somebody hits the ball and it's opening day and the ball gets hit and they go, oh, that's it, the season's over. Like, in other words, you know from the first pitch that the season's over for the Mets. This is the actual clip from the cartoon show. This is an episode that aired.
Because so far, Halloween's a bigger letdown than being a Mets fan.
Opening day, and here's the first pitch, and the season's over.
That's funny.
Well, the Mets, during the broadcast yesterday, during the actual Mets broadcast, I don't know who did it. It had to be a sound engineer or somebody in the booth. They started to broadcast that Family Guy clip right over the broadcast. And I understand that the owners are freaking out. They want to find the person who did this. They're fucking livid. Like, taking it way seriously. Because, I mean, you know, somebody's screwing with their broadcast. Here's what happened.
And John Buck's grand slam, the big blow, and a 6-2 Florida win. Yeah, that 8-pitch at bat was the big turning point.
Opening day, and here's the first pitch.
Grand slam for Buck. Logan Morrison with a late home run add-on.
Now, it got cut off, as you can
Right,
hear.
you didn't hear the whole thing.
How do you think it got cut off? Because if somebody wanted that to run, it would have run.
I don't know what happened. Maybe he potted it up. Maybe he was playing it. You know, listen, he could have been playing it for the guys in the studio, but it sounds weird that it got on the air. That was Friday night, by the way, which was opening day for the Mets, and they lost.
I know. Did they find the guy who broadcast?
I think in the article they said that they've tracked down the person, but they didn't say what had happened.
Because he's going to claim it was an accident. But meanwhile, what's he doing with that tape there?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they were probably, as Gary said, they were joking about it and saying, hey, did you hear Family Guy? And he pulled it up and started playing it for the guys, and then it was time to go back on the air.
Listen to me. When you got a job, and you're lucky enough to have a job with the Mets organization and be an engineer, because, you know, there ain't too many engineering jobs left. If you've got that job, are you really that dumb that you're going to take that tape, bring it to the game, put it in queue for the guys to listen to? I mean, wouldn't you shit your pants that could possibly get on the air and never, ever bring it to work if you had half a brain?
Well, that's the problem. People like to get so relaxed at work.
Yeah.
That they think you can do anything at work that you would do at home.
Howard, you talked about it, that clip that you played earlier of the guy cursing at the Canadian radio station.
Right.
I don't know if you talked about this, but I remember when the first radio station that I interned at, we were told you could never, ever, ever curse in the studio, no matter what you thought was going on.
Right, because you might make
You never know.
You never know, yeah. And that makes sense in a way. But, you know, okay, that guy I understand, because I certainly have been in that position. But for a guy who's a sound engineer or something, a broadcast engineer, to bring that tape in with the Mets, ridiculing the Mets, you got to be out of your mind.
Like, the first thing is it appears to be like almost a disgruntled employee. Like, he's going to show them how bad they suck.
Yeah, it could have been. Who knows? All right, Robin, what else is in the news besides the Mets? Honestly.
Besides the Mets. Well,
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
outraged that Snooki, the girl from the Jersey Shore, was paid $10,000 to come to their students' campus, their kids' campus, to speak.
Look, they're right, these parents. As a parent who's put 2 girls through college, and I got a 3rd one on the way, these colleges get a certain amount of funds, from that the parents pay. Where do you think these funds come from? And they have lecture series. They give the student council money to get lectures. Now, look, I know they're entitled to hear lectures from a wide variety of sources and opinions and things. But when you're paying that much money for a college, especially Rutgers, and you're a parent, and you work your ass off for this college money, and then you find out they gave her, by the way, $32,000. Right. $32,000. Of your hard-earned money. $32,000 for one speaking engagement. It's a goof. What's this girl speaking about?
Actually, you're right. It is $32,000.
That's right.
That's $10,000 more than the tuition.
That's right.
They have to fork
and $2,000 more than what they paid Toni Morrison.
You are spitting... Thank you, George. You are spitting in the face of these parents.
This is a girl who, broadcasts that she's hardly educated and hadn't wasted time on a college education.
What you really want to do is get a lecture from somebody who's accomplished something that these kids can learn from. Come on. I mean, it's nonsense. It's total horseshit, $32,000.
Well, the Rutgers Programming Association members said they were trying to give the students a different...
Who's Toni Morrison?
She's a writer. She's a Pulitzer Prize-winning writer.
I'd rather see Snooki.
Actually, Nobel Prize-winning.
Listen, as a student, I'd rather see Snooki. To be quite honest with you.
But as the parents were even complaining.
Yeah, I mean, but seriously, what is that? Oh, imagine if you go sit through Toni Morrison. When I went to BU, I went to a series of lectures, but it wasn't paid for by the parents, you see. It was paid for by these students. I went to see the woman who had the first... sex change operation.
Oh, that
Christine Jorgensen.
Right.
And it was great. Yeah, everyone there thought I was gay because it was all gay guys looking to get their dicks cut off and trying to decide whether or not to do it. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I bet you everyone thinks I want to get my dick cut off. And I'm trying to act super macho through it. But I remember going and I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting, to hear her story. But it wasn't paid for by the parents. My father had to bust his fucking balls to send me to college.
And most other parents are doing that too these days.
Yeah.
To have Snooki come and speak to your kids. But they said, they're trying to give different kinds of experiences to the students.
Yeah, well.
But to pay her so much money.
That's some experience. Listen, when I went to see Christine Jorgensen, you know what it was like for me to have to, I had to act macho. People think I'm gay anyway. I look kind of gay.
What did she talk about?
She talked about what her life was like. She talked about her experience. It was actually very interesting, but I had to look super macho. I was in an audience full of gay people who thought I was going to get my dick chopped off.
Back in those days.
You know what I did? I whittled, and I chewed tobacco and spit it on the ground.
While you were there.
That's manly.
Very much.
I scratched my nuts, and I shit out a football-sized duty right on the floor. And I farted. I mean, you gotta let people know.
That's what being a man means.
Of course. Of course. You wouldn't know.
A cigar? Did you have a cigar?
I had a cigar.
Of course.
While I chewed tobacco.
Oh, my goodness.
That's right.
Do you know the name Harry Wesley Coover Jr.?
I absolutely do. That's Fred's maiden name.
Before he married Allison?
That's right.
No, that is the name of the man who invented super glue.
Well, hey, that's pretty good.
And it was one of those inventions that came about by accident. He was actually, what was he trying to do? He was experimenting with ways to use a clear plastic for gun sights during World War II.
Yeah, and he came up with super glue.
And he gave up because the stuff he was working with stuck to everything.
And at least he had the brains to say, hey, maybe this is valuable.
No, he never marketed that invention. So he never really made the big money.
So who figured out that it was super glue? Like, who figured out?
I guess some other companies decided, they knew of this substance and they marketed it, and he, just appreciated that they did, and he always kept track of his invention, and he actually was happy to hear that they were using super glue to help repair the wounds of soldiers.
That's right. They use it in actual operations, super glue.
Yeah.
Did he have a patent on it?
He did have a patent
good.
on it.
It's weird, like, here some people use it for noble causes. You know what I use super glue for? When I was in high school, I used to, if I was